a man in America and being black in America, and then adding them together. It's saying instead, when these two qualities converge, there are unique traits that it takes up of its own that are completely unique to the experience of being a black male. And so just to quickly understand it in the context of the book, we're talking about gender and disability. Whenever you're a disabled female, that itself is a unique experience from being female and then from being disabled. The two of them together creates its own unique qualities. I think that another important concept that I should touch on quickly, and this is more of a debate than a concept, is people first language versus identity first language. I think it's more interesting than anything to notice that throughout the book, the author doesn't seem to be beholden to one or another way of talking about it. And I think there is a really healthy debate going along with it. But people first language is the idea that anytime we talk about somebody's disability, we should start by saying person. So this is not an autistic person. This is a person with autism. That's what people first language is. Identity first language is the counterpoint that, well, people's identities are so fundamental to them that we should be okay to use that as one of the leading terms in thinking about who this person is. And so they would say that we should say autistic person, not a person with autism. And so that's kind of an interesting debate to think about. And as we talk about the rest of this conversation, the final term that I kind of want to define might be the most difficult to understand because there's the most differing opinion on what exactly it is, but it is feminism. So if you ask a conservative what feminism is, the average conservative might say something like, oh, well, feminism is the belief that there's no differences between males and females. And if you ask the average liberal what feminism is, they might say something like, oh, it's just the belief that everybody's equal. Everybody's equal, that's what it is. And so I think the problem is if you asked if a liberal heard the conservative definition of a feminist, they wouldn't identify as a feminist. They would say, well, I don't believe there's no differences between males and females. And if a conservative heard the liberal definition, the conservative would say, okay, I reckon I'm a feminist then. They would say, I believe that all people are metaphysically equal. And so I think it's a problem whenever you have two people debating a topic and can't even agree on how to define the topic. And so I think it's important that we're honest about what words mean. And I think words come with policy subscriptions as well as opinions about what society should be like. And one of the major problems with defining feminism is that it's a constantly moving target. It's changed over time, and by 19th century standards, probably pretty much in America would be considered a feminist today. And so I think if we're going to be interpreting this book, we need to be interpreting it while knowing that this book was written in the 21st century. So we should be using a 21st century definition of feminism. And so this is the one that I've thought of, the one that's based off the way that I've observed the word being used, and most importantly, the way it's used in the context of the book. And that is as support for a set of social, political, and economic aims, including the right to an abortion, movement away from traditional gender distinctions, celebration of female sexuality, a desire for more female representation, whether that be in societal roles, political roles, that could be committees, it could be positions, it could be congresswomen, and then also the belief that the pay gap between males and females in the United States and the world abroad is problematic and needs to be fixed. And so that's the way that I tend to understand feminism as that's used, and especially the way that it tends to be used in the book. These are all the fundamental terms that I think we can use as the bedrock of the conversation we're going to have about gender and disability. And so I'm sure there are plenty of terms that I miss, but I think those are the most important ones. Thank you. Bye.